All right, due to technical difficulties beyond my control, I kind of biffed that one up to start things. This isn't an episode of Defenders of the Bank. Oh, no, no, no. It's an episode of One More Sleep. And welcome back, Defenders, to One More Sleep, your quick hit preview the day before LAFC's upcoming matches. Today, we're going to be chatting about our date with Inter Miami in leg 2 of the CONCACAF Champions Cup quarterfinals. Now, you may already see that the scarf is not in the room. But he'll be back for the recap as he's getting back from Costa Rica with his kids tomorrow night. For now, it's going to be me, Christian Philly 316 Phileman. Yeah, that's right. WrestleMania right around the corner. And joining me, Rowdy, Laffy, Taffy, Chris Lafferty himself. Laff, what's up, my guy?
Hey, Philly. Welcome back to you, my man. Excellent job with the broadcast down in Oceanside this weekend. That was a big haul for you as far as all those calls this weekend, man. But I am thrilled to have you back. Let me tell you something. I now know firsthand doing these things by yourself is no easy feat. Thank you for allowing me to do it, but I am more than happy to see you back.
You killed it, my friend. I watched it on the way back from San Diego this past weekend. You did an excellent job, my friend, keeping going and keeping the energy running throughout the entirety of a podcast. It's not very easy, nor is it for a broadcast, but you killed it, my man. And yes, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. As you can hear from my voice, no, I did not just smoke a pack of Marlboro Reds. I just called 3 straight days of MASL soccer. So you're right, Eddie Segura, Chihuahua. That team is unfreaking believable. But anyway, let's transition on over into what we're meant to be talking about today. Now, Miami, Lafferty. It's a pretty cool city with really nice beaches, great weather in the winter, hot and humid summer, the kind of air you can wear, a great nightlife, tons to do, and to be honest, a city I've been to a half a dozen times and a town that I really enjoy. But the problem is, our show has nothing to do with Miami, even though we're playing a team called Inter Miami. We're heading 29.2 miles north on the I-95 to the city of Fort Lauderdale. That's where Chase Stadium is. Fort Lauderdale, once the home of the NASL's Fort Lauderdale Strikers, as well as former MLS club Miami Fusion. Bienvenido a Fort Lauderdale. Yeah, I guess Will Smith's version sounds a lot better. So, my dude, I know we lost that stinker of a game to the Houston Dynamo. 8 changes in the lineup. I guess I'm not entirely surprised. If I were a betting man, which I am not, I probably would have anticipated LAFC losing to Houston. We're not a successful team in Houston. 8 changes to the starting lineup that took the pitch at BMO this past week against Miami, sitting everybody but Lloris, Denny, Eddie Segura, who's in the chat. Clearly, you're doing your thing, but yeah, it was a stinker of a game. But Miami didn't exactly play that well either, drawing at Toronto 1-1 over the weekend.
No, watched a little bit of that game. In fact, watched the first half of the game where both of those goals were scored, and it kind of was the same thing as us. Houston, young team, just kind of ran them in circles for a while. But no, like you said, we it wasn't the best of games. Me being an optimist, I was hoping that, well, with all those changes in the lineup, sure, there might be some chemistry issues. Guys not used to playing with each other, but it was an opportunity for a lot of guys who don't get featured a lot to kind of step up and show what they're made of. And I thought some of the guys, played well. Some of them, left a little bit to be desired. But overall, I mean, I was, happy. It was, a 1-0 victory. It wasn't a blowout. So I think a lot of the guys showed up pretty well. Like I talked about on Sunday, it was disappointing. But I got to say, looking around, it's like, what we had out there with all of those guys and kind of like the chemistry thrown off, all the changes, guys are not used to seeing. That team's better than a lot of teams' first lineup. So if that's our rotated squad, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take it. We had to get. It sucks to lose 1-0 to a team that really isn't that good in the grand scheme of it all. Houston was a stinker of a team over the weekend, but we're not really here, to talk about that one. We're here to talk about leg 2, quarterfinals, Inter Fort Lauderdale. And if it hadn't been for a goal scored in the 57th minute by a 21-year-old by the name of Nathan Ordaz, we wouldn't be sitting in somewhat of an advantageous position. But advantageous is an interesting word, especially when you go into the den of the Fighting Ibis. The Fort Lauderdale Messies are going to be hungry to prove a point. But somebody that's not going to be there, hungry as he may be, no Sergio Busquets, yellow card accumulation. This is going to be a massive blow to Miami's starting lineup.
Yeah, I'm going to touch upon that later in my keys to the match. But I was, I didn't realize it right away, and it wasn't until I heard rumors of it once he got that yellow card in our first leg game that he wasn't going to be out. But I think one thing that Miami's going to miss with him is not only his ability to score and just the expertise that he has on the pitch, but he shakes things up. He's the guy who gets in your face, tries to get guys rattled, throw a little dirty play here and there. I mean, like, he's the guy that gets under the skin of the opponents a lot. So you have to wonder, losing that, is somebody else going to make up for that for Inter Miami?
Yeah, his name's Luis Suarez. And if you piss him off, history has shown that he'll bite you, because he has in previous contests. You're right about Busquets, but the catalyst that could really spark and get under people's skin is definitely Suarez. And the interesting thing, Laff, is the fact that Suarez only played about 69 minutes in the game against Toronto. Messi and Alba played the full 90. You'd have to wonder why that was the case, because LAFC sitting people down. Why is Miami playing their best players, their oldest players, an entire game? That was an interesting strategy against Toronto.
I have a thought, and I think it's the same reason why we play Denny Bouanga for the entire 90 minutes of the Houston game. Well, I think he would have come out earlier. Then it looked like Martinez got a little bit of a knock. But with Bouanga, Bouanga played out there. Basically, he's the kind of guy who wants to play. And also, I think that repetition for him and the continuity of playing is going to help keep them fresh come Wednesday, so they don't feel off their game. Kind of like in baseball, if you're a pitcher who misses a start or something, or gets pushed back a day, you're all thrown off because you're in a routine. Maybe that's what it's like for these guys.
Maybe you're not wrong about that, but either way, it's still going to be a tough hill to climb. Our potential next opponent, wait for it, will either play Pumas from Liga MX, or brace yourselves, the Vancouver Whitecaps. Woo! Good God. If we get by Inter Miami and we have to play the Vancouver Whitecaps, I am going to drop the illest poutine and just leave it on Don Garber's doorstep like that I possibly can. The idea of playing Vancouver again in an in-season tournament makes me sick. Yes, that's right. I will lay a poutine and distribute it to CONCACAF and Don Garber.
Ordinarily I like eating poutine, but with that image in mind, I'm probably going to refrain.
Poop-een is where it's all at. Oh, man, that's going to be a crazy one. All right. Probably should get into this. I don't have my producer Panda hat on, so let's see how this works. Clearly, I don't have the producer Panda hat on because, well, I biffed the intro. I gave you all a Defenders of the Bank intro for a normal episode instead of a One More Sleep. Genuine Cougar in the chat says it won't be Carson. That's right. Carson lost 3-2 today. They will not be moving forward. And, I don't necessarily take, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't revel in our enemies' losses as much as I enjoy our wins. Who am I kidding? You know what? We could be having a stinker of a season. As long as those guys down the 110 lose, it might give me just a slight bit of satisfaction, just a slight bit. So you know what? I'm feeling good that they lost. All right, let's figure this crap out. Here we go. Oh, snipes. All right. As we see, there is no scarf. Let's go to our players to watch. Laugh. Talk about who we got.
In Miami, we have Telasco Segovia. I chose him because with Suarez out, what we're going to have is we're going to have a lot of attack on the up front that's going to come from anybody, aside from Messi, or somebody's going to have to take that burden off of Messi. And I think it's going to come from their midfield, and Segovia specifically looked pretty good. Younger guy, faster guy than the rest of them, I thought. So I think with this guy like Segovia, we're going to have to look to see him as and our defense is going to have to really account for him a lot more, as I'm predicting he's going to be featured in their attack more often. For LAFC, I chose Denis Bouanga, and here's why. We've talked about it for a while, and we keep saying, I think at some point the dam's got to break. And I think that Denny's been coming closer and getting better. If we talked about it a lot after the San Diego game, where my big frustration with him was where he was letting the defenders square up on him, and he wasn't taking advantage of having open space. And I felt like in the last two matches specifically, and more so against Miami even, he took advantage of all the space that he would have. If he had the defender beat, he left them in his dust instead of letting them get back up to him. So I think he's able to get better chances. He's setting himself up for better chances. And I think that he's going to have a lot more of an opportunity than he did in the previous few games, or really for the rest of the season, since the beginning of the season, pardon me. I think he's going to have a much better chance in this game than he's had all year to get these shots off, and something's going to go in. I really think Denis Bouanga is going to help us out in this game on the score sheet. And I think it's just his time. And also, I think because guys like David Martinez, who are going to be out there just running around like crazy, him and Ordaz, they're going to take a lot of the pressure off Bouanga, which is something that we haven't always had. Some guy to take that load off of his shoulders. And I think Denis is going to come through clutch for us this game.
I mean, I like it. Segovia was leading Miami in scoring during the regular season, so that was a good pick. And obviously, we need Denis Dynamite to start lighting itself up. All right, I'm pretty easy. I actually stuck with my Miami player to watch. See if this thing works. Hey, yeah, look, to me, it's always going to be about this guy. 100%. Anytime he hits the pitch, he's must-see TV. He's always going to do things, whether or not he's going to break through the midfield with some old slicing and dicing, or find himself in a position with a free kick outside of the box. This guy's a danger anytime he's around the ball. And what makes him so special is that when he's surrounded, he knows how to distribute it as well. So he's got a lot of good teammates, like your Segovias, that can find the back of the net. So if we swarm Messi, that's a dangerous scenario, because he's going to find the open man. There is nobody on LAFC, not even the way Igor Jesus played in leg one, and he did play a really good game, that can stop Messi, unless you obviously beat him up physically. But that's never seemed to stop the man throughout the entirety of his career. He is the guy to watch always. Anytime you're going to go up against him, he's always the player to watch. And as far as LAFC is concerned, Denis Bouanga would have been the easiest one. Oh, crap. I thought I changed it. I was actually going to go with David Martinez. I thought that was changed. Clearly, I didn't edit this thing from the last time around. Shame on you, Philly, for taking up time during your weekend to go broadcast on CBS Sports and not figure out your edits. Yeah, it's David Martinez. That's the player I wanted to watch for the exact reasons that you specified. Denny is going to attract a lot of attention. He's going to have the youngsters going out and finding themselves open. Nathan Ordaz, he's a sniper. When he's dead in front of the goal, he's going to fire it in. David Martinez, on the other end, he's the kind of player that likes to swashbuckle his way past defenders and inside of the box to get some really good goals. The problem with him sometimes is he does all the hard work, and then when he gets the shot, it's either directly in the hands of the keeper with a lot of energy or just not enough mustard. But I think he's going to have a big game. David Martinez, not Denis Bouanga. All righty, moving on.
Hopefully both. Hopefully both.
All right, when I wrote this, yeah. I mean, are you watching Varsity Blues? Rope-a-dope. Care to elaborate? I mean, I know you will. So talk to us about the rope-a-dope.
Rope-a-dope. It's an old boxing term. Muhammad Ali used to do that. He'd get all of his opponents tired out. He would make them chase him all around and getting in their head thinking, oh, wow, I'm getting all these punches on these guys. I'm running them down. I'm getting them up against the ropes all this time. Meanwhile, all they're doing is just running themselves ragged and wearing themselves down. That's what we got to do with our youth up against Miami's aging veteran team. Is we've got to take our youthful advantage and use it against them. Look, I mean, guys like Messi, for as fantastic as he is, and everybody else on the staff, Suarez, everybody, they're not going to be able to outrun David Martinez for 90 minutes. Hell, Sergi Palencia, even, guys like all over the field. Our defense is going to have to run them around, and we're just going to have to make them run and catch up to us the whole time, so that whenever they are in possession, they're going to be exhausted. I want their guys, sweating. I want them having to take substitutions and get their starters off. And if it means bringing in fresh legs, so be it. I just want our guys to really run them ragged and run them in circles all day, giving them false hope, thinking they're being productive when really we're just exhausting them. And then we strike.
Well, you're not going to have to worry about them sweating because remember, they're playing in Miami. And I will tell you this, Miami's got, and Southern Florida in general, I do like the winters there. Summer times are abysmal with how humid it is, but I actually genuinely like the winters in Southern Florida. When I was living in New York, one of my best friends lived in South Beach. He was an attorney down there, had the dopest apartment right by Ocean Ave. And anytime I'd roll there, we had such a good time. And I made sure to always visit him in the winter because I couldn't stand the summer. So you won't have to worry about the sweat there. All right.
It's not the heat, it's the humidity that gets you.
Yeah, air you can wear. And that's, you don't quite understand that saying when you've been around here, but you go down there and you can definitely feel the wear and in some cases the tear. All righty. Oh, hang on. There we go. This is why I can't do two things at once. All right. God dang it. Producer Panda, we need you. All right, there we go. All right. I clearly didn't change this whatsoever from the last time around because that is literally what I said last time. All right. Do the obvious. Yeah, look, we got to counter, and then counter. That's what Miami's going to be looking to absorb, and that's where we excel. Don't forget these Phillies keys to the game. I'm a jackass, and I didn't fix this. Sorry, kids. Sorry, mom and dad. But, I mean, if they could use that word on TNT, then I could use it on Defenders of the Bank. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
look, counter, and just going back to my point about David Martinez, finish your chances. You got to finish your chances. We had a couple of opportunities against Miami last week at home where we could have actually found the net more than one time, which would have put us in a better position going to Fort Lauderdale at Chase Stadium this weekend. But instead, we only had the one goal by Nathan Ordaz, so it's going to make the game a hell of a lot more competitive. Starting fast and doing the obvious, sure. Let's carry over the keys to the game from last time, but I do believe that we need to counter some more, and finish our chances. I'll take that, the Pat McAfee of soccer. Thank you, Eddie Segura. I'm glad from the time that we had an interview with you back in 2020 till now, like the English is very much approved. So really, really awesome. And yeah, folks, by the way, like we used to do a lot of player interviews back in the day. Go back to the archives. We got Dio on the show. We had Eddie Segura, who's in the chat, on the show. We had Benny Feilhaber on the show. We had so many other players. I think we need to get back to doing that. I've done so many player interviews in Soccer on 60. And yeah, Nathan Ordaz has been killing it since his interview on Soccer on 60. Will I take credit from that? Maybe, but regardless.
I had that interview with Marco Delgado from the Coachella Valley Invitational.
Oh, there you go.
I really think we're onto something here. I think we're the secret sauce, man. I think they need us to, get if there's somebody having a drought, we need to interview Olivier Giroud. Gonna solve everything. I'm saying it right now. Get him on the show.
Yeah.
I'll do the interview since I like the guy, okay?
Okay, fair enough. All right. So let's go to the scores. First, Mr. Lafferty, you've got
1-1. Hey, look, I'm going to take the heat off you. I think Miami is going to have something, okay? Something's got to give for them. I think they're also so angry right now. Messi just kind of stormed off the pitch after the end of the match. Not stormed, but he just didn't want to be there anymore. Didn't want to talk to anybody. And then I think he was also very frustrated in that first half with the referees specifically of the first half of the Toronto game, I should say. He was just not pleased, and I don't think he was pleased at all with how the game was officiated in the leg one of this series. And I think that's because, well, calls went against him and against his team. And I just don't think he didn't. I don't think he cared for that. But I think that a lot of this team is going to bring their anger, and they're going to kind of force their way in. They're going to just kind of hammer things, and something's got to give for them. I think they're going to get one in. I think a team with the offensive prowess that they have, it's going to be incredibly hard to shut them out again. I think that they're going to just be on their A game in every facet, but I still think that with our guys using their speed and youth to their advantage, they are going to find the back of the net. They are going to help Denny Bawanga facilitate the type of game that he wants to play. They are going to have David Martinez beating defenders and making opportunities happen. Nathan Ordaz is going to be plowing his way into the 18 and firing away, even if it's from outside the box. As long as he sees an opportunity, he's going to strike. Strikers strike, which has been my kind of my mantra that I've been wishing to impart upon this team all season. And we saw it from guys like Nathan Ordaz in the last match. We saw it from guys like Artem Smolyakov earlier in the season against, I think that was the New York game or the Minnesota game, where they struck from distance because they had an opportunity. And I think that something is going to go in. And I think, though, it is going to be a more defensively clamped down game for Miami. And we're going to come away with one goal, but that one goal is going to count as two with the weighted goal in the aggregate, the lineup there. So that is going to give us the advantage in the tiebreaker situation. And I think that we are going to come away tomorrow victorious off of a 1-1 draw.
You're a little more optimistic than I am. So, yes, if we go tomorrow and get a 1-1, we win 2-1 on the aggregate anyway. So I like your thinking in that regard, and I'm with you. But I think Miami wins tomorrow, 2-1. But because of the point that you just made, if we have one, Miami's going to need to have three tomorrow. And I don't think Miami is going to get 3 goals tomorrow. I think they're going to score 2. We're going to have our 1. And that's it, because of the fact that the away goal is the deciding factor. I know there's plenty of other tournaments internationally that have scrapped this, but we're still utilizing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Keep in mind, we only started using VAR recently. Yay, CONCACAF. But Miami's going to win tomorrow, but we're going to win on the aggregate and with the away goal. That's it. That's the way I predict it. Miami will get their dub, but it's not going to matter. And then, because of how lucky we've been in the past, Chris Lafferty, I am predicting that we are going to make it to the semifinals and play the Vancouver Whitecaps. Yeah, and as boring as that may be, that's actually a pretty decent path for on route to the final. Look, Vancouver hasn't been a powder puff team in a while. Despite the fact that Vanni Sartini isn't there, they still are actually off to a pretty good start. They still have some deadly players. We just have to see what they do against Pumas tomorrow. But I do think that we win in the aggregate. I do think that we move forward, and we'll welcome the Vancouver Whitecaps. Oh, God. If anybody knows if the fields will be open for the game tomorrow, Joel Son in the chat asked that question. Unless the club does it for a watch party, I don't think so. But I could be wrong. And to be completely honest with you, since I got back from the playoffs, I haven't really been in tune too much to what's going on in the outside of the LAFC community. So if anybody has an answer to that, please let me know.
The only watch parties that I've seen on Instagram are for the Offsiders are hosting one at Kings Row Pub in Pasadena tomorrow. And then the Empire Boys have one as well, but I have to double check where they're hosting it. I think maybe at Rowdy's. I'm not sure. But you know, Philly, I got to say, I have a much more complimentary opinion of Vancouver. I think that they're off to a better start than they have been in years. And despite having a coaching change, I think they're looking really well this year and getting more than just their main two guys involved. And I think their goalkeeping has been outstanding as well. But I think that they are what sorry, I got thrown off by that comment that got
No,
in
I
there.
just wanted to put that on there because Soundman says LAFC sucks. And you know what, man? So do you. You suck. You suck more than LAFC does. But thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight. Clearly, that concept of rent-free is in your cerebellum as well. So thank you so much for joining us. But yes, you suck even more than LAFC does.
He goes on to say LAFC fans will cry and it'll be tears of elation, my friend. I will be so happy once we move on. And whether it's Vancouver or somebody else, I will be so happy. And I look, going back to my point on Vancouver, I think they're off to a great start. I think they're getting a lot more guys involved in their attack this year, and their goalkeeping has been outstanding. And look, I think that the other thing we have to think about, whether it's going to be in this tournament or just down the road in MLS play, a team like Vancouver, also, they've seen us 20 times in the last 2 years, just like we've seen them so many times. They're getting bored of us as well. But also, they've got it out for us. They want us bad. And they are a team that is getting familiar with us as well. So that's going to be an important layer should we be fortunate enough to move on tomorrow and face them.
Well, for the comedic purposes, I'll add Sandman in the chat here. He says LA Galaxy is bigger than our mini club. How about you get a dub, Sandman, and then you can talk. Sure, you've got 6 titles, and that's fantastic. So fantastic. I mean, you've only been around since '96. That's like bragging as a 42-year-old to a 21-year-old that I've drank more beers than you have. Like, give me a freaking break. If you can come up with something creative, funny, and original, then maybe we'll incorporate some more. But for the time being, you little loser, you person who probably has a bunk bed in his mother's house and still has a Mickey Mouse phone, you are in a timeout. All righty. Anyways, now that loser is gone and out of the chat, the one thing I do want to bring up to all of y'all, very important, the emails from the club. Very, very important. There is a scenario where if you don't pay attention to the email you have as a season ticket holder, if you don't opt out, you're going to get charged money for a Metro Pass. Why the club decided to do this is beyond me. I know myself, I would not read the email and I would get opted in and I would wake up one morning to see a $98 charge on my bank account. And quite honestly, that would be something that would piss me off, considering that it's not for tickets. It's not anything that really matters towards our season pass. That would really piss me off. I love our club. I love so many aspects about our club. But this thing I absolutely hate. I think it is beyond insulting. I think it is ridiculous, and whoever actually created this idea and greenlit it needs to reconsider this for future actions, because nobody's going to be thrilled about this scenario. I get taking the Metro is a fine way to avoid traffic, and getting to the stadium is great. Chris, you and I have done that a couple of times. And fine, maybe getting home would be great too. But don't put it in a scenario where we absolutely have to do something. I mean, where if we don't do anything, we get nailed for it. If we opt in for it, sure. If we have to opt out, that's BS.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. You know me, normally I'm all for everything and I'm happy-go-lucky and very optimistic about things, but this really ticked me off because it's just backwards. Like they offer the special deal for the reduced parking rate if you buy it in advance for the season before the season begins. That's cool, the parking offers that they've done. I love encouraging to take the Metro. Like I said, you and I have taken it before. I've got my card. I use it frequently to get down there. But if you got to give the people the option to opt in. I signed up for season tickets. I pay for season tickets. That's the exchange. You give me tickets after I pay for them. Cool. Not like, oh, cool, we made this transaction. And now, by the way, if you're not paying attention, I'm also going to charge you for this thing that you never signed up for. It's just, it's shady. I don't want to accuse anyone of doing anything wrong. I think the club has been very, very great to us in so many ways, but they just missed the mark on this one, and it irritates me that they're not allowing us the opportunity to opt in. They're basically putting the onus on us. Otherwise, they get money to charge us for something that we never asked for. So again, I just would urge everybody to check your emails, hit the opt in, or I'm sorry, hit the opt out if you don't want to take them up on that deal, and also email your reps and just let them know that they should have handled this better. Because the other part of it too is it's not like with parking where they offer you a discount. It's 350. It comes out to 350 per round trip. A regular round trip costs 350. So if you're like, hey, those are the exact same numbers, yes, they are. It's just it really that's what bugged me too. It would have been cool if they gave us like a discount at least, or offered that, but not even that. So I don't want to belabor it anymore. I just
Yeah.
I would
We
just
just want to
encourage
make sure
everyone to
that
write
y'all
your
are,
reps and express.
yeah. And I just want to make sure that y'all are fully aware. I mean, even check your spam folder. We got the email on April the 7th, which was yesterday. So keep your eyes out on that. Make sure you pay very close attention. And I'm with you. Look, I love our club, but I'm going to call out things I completely disagree with and don't like. And this to me is just a whole heap of nonsense and BS. $98 is $98. For some, it's a lot. For some, it's a nickel. But at the end of the day, you still don't want to. I'm not saying scam. That's a terrible word. But like you said, I would rather be given the option to opt in than to have to be penalized for not paying attention. There we go. We'll leave it at that. And it's not just for people, by the way, who bought parking passes. I haven't had a parking pass since the second season of LAFC. So it has nothing to do with just the parking pass. It should have happened if you're a season ticket holder. So again, keep a lookout, check your spam folders, and make sure that you pay very close attention to that email. Otherwise, you're going to see a $98 charge for something that ain't a ticket to the game. All right, Mr. Lafferty, we're 32 minutes into this bad mamma jamma. My voice is done. Any final thoughts?
I'm going to be on the lookout for different watch parties going on tomorrow. It'd be cool to get together with everybody. I'm excited for this match. Look, it's going to be tough. I think we've got a lot to be optimistic about based on the first one at home, but we are on the road. I like that our guys didn't come back after Houston. They're just going straight. They just went straight to Miami and we're training there. That took a lot of stress off of them as far as not having to travel. I think that'll play into our advantage. I think we got to use our speed and our youth to our advantage. And continue to clamp down and play with that same tenacity that we did in game one. Look, I think there was a lot of emotion coming into game one because of the loss that we had the previous weekend. And I think there were a lot of demons needed to be exercised. And I think the team got read the riot act, quite frankly. I hope that they, without having the need to do that before this game, I hope that they were able to find the same will to win that they did in leg one. And I hope that they take it to them and just have the confidence to know that, yes, they are capable of beating this super team in Miami.
All fair points. I am tapped out of thoughts. We're losing to Miami tomorrow, 2-1, but we win with the away goal aggregate, and we move on to the semifinals. I predicted we get the dub last time. I'm predicting this right here. It's going to happen. That's the way I foresee it. The last thing I will address, I swear that'll be the last thing. Nate Forever in the chat says his final thoughts, Inter Miami will beat LAFC. He's mentioned that Messi is the GOAT. I would love to see how many Inter Miami fans remain after Messi's tenure with Miami is over and his time in MLS is done. I will say this. All the pink jerseys that I saw at BMO Stadium last week made me want to vomit. Take those Pepto-Bismol jerseys up on out of our stadium and go the hell back to Fort Lauderdale. And I will leave it at that.
Hey, real quick, Eddie Segura in the chat asked Philly, any fun WWE news? The only fun WWE news that I have is that next week, I'll be out of town because I'll be in Las Vegas for WrestleMania.
Atta boy. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
get me a Las Vegas 316 t-shirt.
I'll work on it.
All right. As your tribal chief. No, just kidding. wait till we see a Lafferty triggering. You're right there.
Yeah. I think it's time we finish this story here, Philly. What do you say?
Yeah, I agree. All right. Thanks again for tuning into another episode of Defenders of the Bank. One more sleep. We'll be back in a day or so to give you the recap of our advancement past Inter Fort Lauderdale, Messi, and we'll have plenty of things to say. Nay, you are more than welcome to come back and engage us further. You and Sandman and all the other losers who had stupid crap to say, please come on back. We will gladly drink up your tears with our smiles. All right, everybody.
And thank you for the engagement.
Yeah, exactly. Have a good night.